Can I tell y'all what's on my mind?
It's your brother, your cousin, your
Can I
uncle,
get a
your
couple of
nephew,
things
your
off my
friend, but I can't
chest?
be your son. It's your kinfolk, William Jewell. Giving you my detail. Let's all articulate. This is articulating. Rap. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn all the notifications on so you can get all the new content and all the new videos when I create them. I just came here to articulate, educate, entertain, and inform. I just came here to just give y'all the details, right? Just give y'all a closer look from a microscopic perspective when it comes to hip hop. And sometimes the details, the devils are in the details. Sometimes, I have to keep it a little bit broader because some of y'all won't understand my thinking and how I really break down things. But man, it's been a crazy weekend and a crazy week, right? Because when we think about everything that's been going on from the Kendrick Super Bowl halftime show to the Drake music release to the Jay-Z case being dismissed, it's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of roller coaster rides within this week, when it comes to numbers, when it comes to the charts. And damn, we just trying to follow it as it goes. But and the reason why I did this, how I did this, the reason why I didn't want to post about the Super Bowl show right after the Super Bowl show, because I knew it was going to be a lot to dissect. I knew it was going to be a lot to sit with. And I wanted to give myself a full week to sit with it, to comprehend the true message, because, when we talk about it, right, we need to be educated and give an informed answer when we talk about the message, when we talk about the performance itself, when we talk about even the aftermath and how people saw it, how they viewed it, their perspective. We got to talk about those things too. So I believe it just does the performance a disservice when you talk about it right after the performance, right? And I appreciate Kendrick for even performing. I appreciate Kendrick for staying true to himself, staying true to his craft, right? Because not a lot of people are going to do that on that stage, right? And they say when you're on that stage, you're a guest of the NFL. So you should perform as if you're a guest and not as if you're at home. They say when you're on that stage, you're supposed to put some of your biggest hits on display. They say when you're on that stage to be a good boy, to not cause too much disruption, to not be too much of the distraction. They say when you're on that stage, you need the lights, camera, action, you need the fireworks, you need to put on a show. They say when you're on that stage, you need to do what they want you to do. And I believe that's the message. That's what Samuel L. Jackson was saying as he was narrating that story as Kendrick went, "Oh, no, too loud, too ghetto," right? So it was one of those things as you kind of continue to watch the performance, as you kind of continue to consume the information on what Kendrick Lamar was trying to give to the fans and give to the people. It was that experience of trying to walk the tight line between being authentic to yourself, but at the same time trying to please the people. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you, right? And I think he did what's best for PG Lang, right? Although he loves TDE, I think he did what's best for Kendrick Lamar, right? He put SZA on stage. Isn't that enough for TDE? He didn't have to go to the back catalog. He didn't have to go to Good Kid, Mad City. He didn't have to go to Pimp a Butterfly. He played a little bit of Damn, but I feel like he did TDE a service, and he really bigged up PG Lang and kind of showed you where he was at mentally, just thinking futuristic, thinking in the present. As he said in the interview, he's thinking and the presence of mind, right? Not worried about the past, but where he's at 37 years old, where he's at as an artist. And a lot of people are discovering him for the first time. Like, we can see the stats. Like, he's one of the most discovered artists in a very short period of time. We can see it with the numbers. Who is Kendrick Lamar? Right? And the thing is, like, Kendrick Lamar is somebody, like, when you really, like, get to, like, hear his discography, like, how could you not fall in love? How could you not appreciate Lens from that perspective, that type of poetry, that type of storytelling, that type of lyricism, that type of wordplay, and the performance on how he, makes his music? How could you not appreciate the king of hip hop, right? He has the crown, King Kendrick. And, to be honest, me personally, right, I wanted Kendrick to put his true discography on display, right? I wanted people to be like, damn, that's Kendrick Lamar. I wanted them to show the Kendrick Lamar like I knew they could see if he really put his full catalog, put his greatest hits on display, and that's not what he did. But when I was looking at the performance, I love GNX. Me and my wife, we really enjoyed it. Even my son, he was dancing to it because he knows all the songs. We've been playing all these songs in the car since GNX dropped. Like, even during the rap beef. So he really likes Not Like Us. He really likes TV Off the Mustard. So that's the thing. I enjoyed the performance just because I pretty much knew all the songs regardless. But at the same time, it felt, we felt kind of displaced because I know that some people wanted to hear the greatest hits. I know that if he would have played the greatest hits, it would be hard to argue about, like, his performance. It would be hard to talk down on it. It would be hard to not be impressed by what he put on display if he really wanted to put that on display, judging by all the, things that he's done before. And, the stadium, the production of the Super Bowl halftime, and just trying to maneuver around and put on that type of show on display in front of everybody, I see that could be difficult. Just now, thinking about the performances he's done in arenas, the performances that he's done on the Grammy stages, like being able to put on that performance in a big stadium, I see how that was a little bit difficult. But at the same time, I feel like he capitalized on everything that was available to him. And the playlist, I feel like that's minuscule compared to the, like, bigger picture of things. Like, the playlist, the songs that he played, to me, that's miniature based on the impact that he had, right? Because we know the views, we know the numbers. Like, I don't even really want to get into the numbers, like, because Kendrick Lamar, this has been deserving for him. He's been deserving of his numbers. He's been deserving of these accolades. But just because of what he brings to the table when it comes to the pureness of hip-hop, when it comes to the pureness of the black experience, when it comes to the pureness of representing the culture for what it truly is, like, he deserves the flowers. Like, and the reason why I don't want to put up the numbers is because Drake has always bigged up the numbers. He's always puffed his chest out about the numbers, and now Kendrick Lamar is getting the numbers, getting the flowers, but that doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is just the gesture, it's just the action, right? And that acknowledgement to the everyday people, that he's still in the fight with us, that he's still, in the trenches with us, at least not in body, at least by mind and spirit, and he can relate to us and he can connect to us, because that's why he's continuing to make this music that's connecting to the fans, and people are making other music that's not connecting. And it's a reason why he's able to connect. It's a reason why he's able to tap into that mindset, because he doesn't let himself get too high, right? And he stays confident enough to be confident in his ability to put out that art. And just the aftermath of this show is just like it got people questioning. It got people wanting to see what the symbolism is. It got people wanting to see what this meant. What Samuel L. Jackson said, deduct one life. It got people wanting to see why he got into that X. It got people trying to see why he did Man of the Garden with the guys in the white tees and the gold grills. Why was that man on the lamp pole? Like, it got people to see. I ain't gonna break it all down because people done already broke it down enough. It's not for me to break it down, right? I could break it down. But, I'm trying to bring it back to the broader, spectrum of it, because we can touch on the tedious subjects. We can touch on the tedious topics, but we have to see what it really means in totality, right? What it really means in totality. And then what I took away from the "you brought your homies with you to Duck One Life," I did want to say this. What I took away to Duck One Life is when he did the album GNX and he brought Lefty Gunplay, AZ Shike, Dodie Six, Peso, Hitterman J. When he brought Young Threat, when he brought all these guys into GNX, and people were saying like, why did you use them? Right? You brought your homies with you to Duck One Life, right? Because had he actually put people that was already known in the industry on that album, I feel like the album would have been even bigger. I mean, we see what the songs with SZA did. Just think about if he would have had some actual other rap features that was chosen on that album. He didn't even use Black Hippie. He brought the homies from LA. He gave them a pedestal. Deduct One Life. Take a couple points off that album because of you bringing the homies with you, and the way we listened to that album was a little bit different. The way we judged that album was a little bit different. It could have been a little bit higher. I said it could have been a little bit higher if he would actually use people in the industry, but he didn't. So it brought it down a little bit. But at the same time, now that people are listening to the album, they got past the fact that these are featured artists, and they've been listening so much that that's not even a thing anymore. And that leads to my next point. Like, Kendrick is not going to regret anything about this performance. Like, they trying to say it was Drake centered. But when we look back 5 years later, this is the performance that's going to etch GNX in stone. This is a performance that's going to make GNX a surefire classic. This is the performance that might put GNX above Good Kid, Mad City, above Damn, above To Pimp a Butterfly, because he brought it to this stage. Now, some of these songs might not be hits right now. Peekaboo might not be the biggest hit right now. The intro, Bodies, might not be the biggest hit right now. Squabble Up might not be the biggest hit right now. TV Off might not be the biggest hit right now. But when we look back a few years later, after the tours, after all the radio play, after all the streams, when we look back a couple years later and we think about GNX and we think about this moment in hip hop, there will be a lasting effect, and we're going to be looking at these songs and thinking these are hit songs. If Kendrick would have came out and played the songs from Good Kid, Mad City a couple of months after it came out, then we would be like, who is this playing these songs? But if we listen to those songs years later and know the classic that they become, then that performance will be even much bigger. That's why he lived in the present moment. I think that's why he wanted to be present with it. I don't think it has nothing to do with trying to get more money for PG Lang, because some of these songs is under PG Lang, right? And obviously it's going to boost the numbers that he does with PG Lang in the album GNX. But I think he did this because he's looking at this performance with a futuristic mindset, right? Like, it's people saying, okay, he just wanted to do what he wanted to do. But I think he believes that much in this album. He's that much confident in this album and the fact that it's doing the numbers that it's doing right now and probably will continue to do numbers because of what he did and gave it that spotlight that it needed. Like, this is going to be a classic. And the thing about the classic, we're going to look back on these songs and be like, that was a classic performance. So, I mean, that's all my thing on the GNX Super Bowl halftime show. Man, salute to Kendrick. Right? And before I get to, another guy, I want to get to some guys that should have gotten my attention last week. And please forgive me. But Larry June, 2Chainz, Titty Boy, The Alchemist, one of the best producers in the game right now, probably the best producer in the game right now, right? And he's rumored to be working with Erykah Badu on the new album. But Life is Beautiful, right? And when we think about the production on Life is Beautiful, I still believe that Life is Beautiful right now in 2025, I believe it's the best album of 2025. Right, I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. So I'll put Life is Beautiful at 1. Then pretty much just by default, I guess Wham goes at number 2. I mean, because nobody's really been dropping no real albums, right? Because they kind of been out the way because of the GNX. And of course, Drake has been doing some things too. So I feel like Life is Beautiful is the number 1 album, pure hip hop album of the year right now. And the production, it was just top tier, right? The production, the samples, just the soulfulness, just the mood that it set. It felt like rich in spirit, right? It felt lavish in integrity, lavish in character, right? Kind of like that yacht that you see on the album cover, kind of like some yacht music. It's really like that big boy music, like that grown man hip hop. And like with the lyrics that Larry June did, the last album that I liked with Larry June is the Larry June album he did with The Alchemist. And I believe like The Alchemist really enhanced his sound and really made him go to them pockets of lyricism. And not only did The Alchemist help him do that, but the offering that 2Chainz was able to give to this album, even though at times he was playful with his lyrics and his wordplay, not too serious on the substance, but the metaphors, the punchlines, I believe that's what 2Chainz excels in. And he makes it entertaining, right? He doesn't take himself too seriously, but he shows you like how he can perform the songs and like just getting on that Alchemist beat, which is more like a East Coast type of vibe and feel, but still giving you the Southern vibes and his dialect and his lingo when he gets on the track. I feel like, this is really the 2Chainz that we really needed. Like, he was playing with Lil Wayne on Holly Grove too. Like, this is more serious. This is more mature, right? This is more defining as a true hip hop artist, right? And I feel like this is a way that we've never seen 2Chainz being seen because of his, affinity for trap music and those type of sounds and instrumentals, and just to hear him on these type of beats with Larry June and The Alchemist is so refreshing, right? And just the cohesiveness of both of them, like, and how the album was put together, just the cohesiveness of their collaboration and the cohesiveness and the structure of how this album was put together from the track list from the beginning to the end. It just sounds so good, right? Colossal, right? I really love that song. That song is one that sticks out of my head. Bad Habits, like, those are some things that, like, I really just, Life is Beautiful, the title track, like, those, man, this was a good album, man. This was very refreshing, very surprising. And, man, those guys deserve their flowers. hats off to those guys. To me, you know, the production was great. The lyricism was there. The cohesiveness, the collaboration was there. For 2Chainz, this was more of a risk. For Larry June, this was more inside his bubble. But I mean, just overall, like, I can't give it a 9, but I can give it an 8.5. I can give this album an 8.5. So somebody gonna have to drop a 9 for me to like put this above this album. So Life is Beautiful, 8.5. I give y'all that for the year, 8.5 out of 10. It's just too great lyrically and too great production wise to give it an 8. Cohesiveness is there. The risk taking is there on the side of 2Chainz. If this was different, more of a risk for Larry June, right? And probably not just one producer. Maybe I could give it a 9 or so, but I would say to me, a 9 is basically a perfect score. 10, it has to be like just so breathtaking and so innovative that, you know, that's the only way we can go. But I say 8.5, almost perfect. Then we go to a friend of yours, but we go to Drake, right? Damn. And I'm glad I took my time to like talk about this album, Some Sexy Songs for You, right? It was Drake and Party Next Door, who they call PND, right? I feel like I really should have took my notes down on here. I didn't really take my notes down on here. But before I really want to like say something positive about this album. Because I mean, being on a Drake hate train is kind of cool these days. It's gonna get you the views these days. And does he deserve it? I mean, God can only decide what a man deserves, right? And I believe as a human, we deserve compassion because we're not perfect, right? And I believe this album deserves some pity. It deserves some compassion because it's not perfect, right? It's not perfect, but we get the effort, right? We get the effort and we got the, you know, confidence enough to drop this album when you drop this album. You got the confidence enough to talk how you're talking to some of your oppositions on this album. You got the confidence to even go through what you're going through in the court system and still like talk about things that are kind of hypocritical of what you're suing for. So I feel like just to have the balls to do something like this, right, it deserves some type of credit. Right? And the thing is, he released it on Valentine's Day. Right? He's really trying to pour into his fan base. He's really trying to pour into the For You, because the sexy songs for you is for the ladies. It's for the fellas that are in his fan base that like listening to that type of music. You know, that vulnerable, heartbreak Drake, singy, songy, melodic, you know, music. And you got to pat him on the back for that. Right? Because this is a time where he needs his fan base and he needs them now. And like there was some good moments and some good points in this album, mainly at the beginning of the album, the CN Towers. I mean, I really kind of liked most of the beginning of this album, right? And the reason why the beginning of this album was good is because it was fresh. It was fresh. Then as we got to the latter part of this album, it started to become redundant. It started to sound like the same old song over and over again. So you know, it took a struggle for me to listen to it 2 times. This is not an album I'm gonna go back to. This is supposed to be an R&B and soul album, but this doesn't sound like R&B to me, right? This is not the R&B that I like right? This is not even the Brent Fias. This is not even the Bryson Tiller, because although they said they like Drake with the melodies, Drake has never been able to sing good to me. Drake can hold a tune when it comes to doing a hook, right? He can hold a tune when it comes to doing a verse. But when you have to sing a whole entire album and your whole entire album is melodic, right? You expose your lack of ability when it comes to singing. So although Drake is known to have talent in the melodic department, I believe his flaws of being a singer was exposed. And I heard people saying it wasn't mixed well. And shit with PND, right? He sound like a Ty Dolla Sign and Future hybrid, but a lower budget version. He sounds like a low budget version, a low budget Ty Dolla, right? And this is really a Drake album. PND, we get some flashes of him on this album, but we can't even really tell he's on this album like that. So it's just a whole bunch to say. Like, it's a whole bunch to say because I feel like Drake doing this collaborative album is similar to Hair Loss, right? Right? He outshined 21 Savage, and he made 21 Savage look like a stepchild on Her Loss, right? He's making PND look like a bum on Some Sexy Songs for You. He's outshining him as well, but he's using him for shield. He's using him to shield himself from the criticism from the people in the media, for the fans, because he can say this is not a solo album. He can say this is a R&B album for my fans. This is not my real album. This is just an album that I just wanted to get out there and put the music out there. But this is not my album, just like he said on the Australian tour. Like, I'm going to put this album out, but I'm going to come back. I eventually want to have a one-on-one conversation with you. Like, so damn. Like, he just kind of shielded himself to be able to say, well, this was a joint album. And it just sounded like he throwing a whole bunch of paint at the wall. He trying to see what sticks. He trying to see, because this is another For All the Dogs album, just probably even lower budget. It doesn't sound well. Like, I did not like the production. It was very spacey. Of course, it was Drake's, style, but it didn't really, what I'm saying, enhance his style. Even when he did all the 3 beat switches on Give Me a Hug, people made a big deal about Give Me a Hug. But that song wasn't good to me. Right? Nokia, it sounds like he's trying to copy Squabble Up to me. Like, like, that Nokia sounds like he's trying to like imitate that sound as well. Like, so nothing sounds original other than the original sound that Drake and Party Next Door innovated when they first got in the game, right? So it just sounds like a playlist album. Like, it's some good songs on here that we gonna take from it, gonna put it on the playlist. But this album as a totality, I doubt that this album gonna really live for a long time. And I think we saw that in the decrease numbers after the first day that it dropped, after the first 24 hours, because it did overtake Kendrick Lamar. It did overtake some of his songs, and then after 24 hours, it went back down. And now they're trying to blame Spotify. They're trying to blame all these other music sites from, you know what I'm saying, like trying to block it. So we already knew that was going to be there. We already knew that they was going to use that. So I feel like if this album doesn't do that well, they got all the excuses in the world to use. Oh, Spotify and UMG, they was trying to. But this album was distributed by UMG. OMG, what are you talking about? Like, it's so many excuses, Drake. That's the thing, man. Like, I don't even want this. Like, this is R&B. No, this is not no fucking R&B. This shit weak, bro. This sad ass shit. This, boy, you cannot sing that good. I'm disappointed. Drake, like, I like when he sings, but he has to use a little bit more rapping. He has to sing 25% of the time, 75% rap. That's the Drake I like. I don't like my Drake 75% singer, 25% rapper. Right. Bro, this, like, I'm disappointed. Cause by the second listen, this album did get better. By the second listen, this album did get better. But at the same time, like, I agree. Like, there's no really growth, no real evolution. And then on top of that, it's not mixed well. The voices don't sound well. And this sound like some throwaway songs. But a couple of songs hit, right? A couple of paint that you threw at the wall, they hit. It's going to be some songs that we going to be able to listen to and add to the playlist. But other than that, 21 songs, way too long, bro. Like, if he would have just kept the album, cut the album in half, then he could have really did something with it. But he just put too many songs on it. And that's how I could tell he was just trying to see what would go. He didn't know what songs. He wasn't even confident in his own selection of songs. So, I mean, that's just disappointing because Drake been doing this for years. Drake should know what a hit sound like. Like, Drake should already have the ear for that. But you could tell that his connection to the people has gone awry. The connection to the people has been disconnected because how could you not know what's a hit? Why would you have to put 21 songs out there to see what's a hit? You should be able to know what sounds good in 13 or 14 songs. Come on, Drake. And you steady taking shots, bro. Like, I'm not even going to deep dive into the shot taking and fucking rap beef. I'm trying to get the party lit. Like, bro. What? You're almost 40 years old. You trying to get the party lit? I get it, Drake. I get you're a single man. I get you're a ladies' man. You're a certified lover boy. But you're a grown man. You have a child. You have someone that you're raising to be an upstanding person and an upstanding citizen in this world. I know there's more that you can offer us. There's more that you can give. And I'm not saying you have to be totally on that type of talk. I'm not saying you have to switch your style up. I'm just saying I want a little bit more. I need you to take the risk. And I'm not talking about meet your padre. I want to meet your madre, mi amor. I'm not talking about singing in Spanish. I'm not talking about rapping like you Jamaican. I'm talking about in the substance that you bring. Take a little bit more of a risk. Give us a little bit more of yourself. And I'm not talking about LeBron James Fighting Irish freestyle where you're trying to tell on a man cheating on his wife. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you. But we won't get that. I don't think we'll ever get that because you've boxed yourself in. You've become the pop star. You've become the guy that is all about making hits. That's not about digging deep. And since you've branded yourself this way, right? Just like Jay-Z said, I used to want to rhyme like common sense. Right? Like, you box yourself into where you kind of like got to stay with that style because anything outside of that might shake up your fan base, but what you don't realize is that right now, like, that's the shift. That's where hip hop is going right now. And you got the opportunity to be a part of the shift, but you still want to hold it back within the realm that it's been in that shallow end, but now it's venturing off into deeper waters. And I believe you're eligible. I believe you're knowledgeable. You are wise enough to go into those deep waters, and you can swim. But it's all up to you if you want to get your life jacket wet or not. So, man, shout out to Drake though. Shout out to Drake because, like, I used to love Drake. When he first started rapping with Wayne, I used to love Drake. Like, and I could tell you the point where I fell out of love with Drake as far as I stopped liking his music. Once I knew that the authenticity was lacking. Once I knew that he was no longer being true to the person that he was when he first got there. And it was very easy to sense for me. And obviously it was the ghostwriting part. You know what I'm saying? Ghostwriting part, the Meek Mill battle. Like, I did like Scorpion, the rap part. And then after that, that's kind of when I just couldn't fool with Drake no more. But shout out to Drake, bro. I just hope he in good spirits. I just don't want him to play this social media game. And he's kind of like boxed himself in to where he has to do that or people going to think something wrong. And he just can't just go away because he does never go away. And if he goes away, then people, I don't know. I don't know if people going to miss him or they just going to think something. I don't know if people going to miss him or he will, like, that's the only thing about telling Drake to go away at this point in time. If he goes away, then he probably will be less impactful. But the fact that he's staying visible, I think it hurts his legacy even more just because of the antics, right? And just because he's built his brand on being the best ever and being able to throw that in any rapper's face. And so since he's not, now he has to use more substance to overcome the lack thereof. So, man, shout out to Drake, man. Shout out to Drake. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar, too. He's doing number one again, 230-something albums sold for GNX. Damn is on the charts, and Good Kid, Mad City is on the charts. So he's going to be the first rapper ever to have 3 albums in the Billboard Top 100. Not Like Us is going back to number one this upcoming week, and then Luther is fighting for that number one spot for the next week. So those are the numbers for Kendrick Lamar. Like I said, numbers for me never define Kendrick Lamar. Like, what just define Kendrick Lamar is just his ability to relate to the regular people and his ability to relate to the man, to the husbands, to the fathers, and just to those black boys like coming up from the impoverished or, you know what I'm saying, struggling in the beginnings of their life. And so, like, we just look at Kendrick Lamar as somebody that has always embodied that for us. So, I mean, it's hard to, like, not like that. It's hard to hate that. And the only way you can find a way to hate that is just kind of disrespecting our forefathers and calling his music protest music, right? So, man, salute to both of those guys. Man, they really put rap on their back for these last years and really put it, like, where it's at right now. So you can't have one without the other. And there's got to be good and bad forces. Whether one is good, whether one is bad, and whether one is bad and one is good just depends on your viewpoint. But I believe all these forces, light and dark, needs to exist, right? And it's put hip hop where it needs to be. It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son as your kinfolk. William Jewell, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating rap, rap, rap.